To me, my YouTubers. Gentlemen. What a big helmet. What a big helmet.
Your head? I was just about to say that.
Well, I don't know if it's the helmet's just too big or what, or if it's just I've got an abnormally small nut. I don't know. That's that old. What's that? I'll do that old. What is it? I can't do it that way. That way.
That is.
I'm sure it's not supposed to do that.
Imagine it got stuck
or something on top of your head, you know.
Oh, I've lost me ear thing there. Right, chaps, how are you? Everybody well?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Excellent.
Excellent. I see what you did there. Mr. Keegan. Good stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, as ever, I am joined by some of YouTube's finest and Simon. And today we are going to be talking all things X-Men. And I have got my good pal, James T. Keegan. How are you, Keegies?
Heyo,
Keegies. Don't know what I did there. It was meant to be Keego, but I kind of did it. Keegies.
Yeah. I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Thank you for having me. It's nice to do I like these ones where we just do a review on one thing. You know, enjoy. We go in depth.
Yeah. In depth. Yeah. And we're going to cover all things X tonight, and we need an X-Men expert on the panel. So we've got Magneto was right. What's that all about, Efren?
What is going on, X-Men Familia? I just caught up. I watched the whole series last week. I binged it because I'm a completionist and I had to watch the original series first. I wanted to watch it, but it's been 20, 30 years since I watched it. So I wanted to watch that first. And then I binged, the rest, the 10 episodes that just came out, X-Men 97, and I loved it.
That's good news, actually, Efren, because I have to be honest, I can't remember much of the original series. So when we're talking about it later on, we'll get you to spill the beans. Yeah. But before we start, Efren, just stand up. Let's have a look at that T-shirt in all of its glory. Nice bit of Jim Lee art. I like that. Yep. Yeah, very cool.
That's wear the shirt.
Very cool. And Simon, how are you, Simon?
Hello.
Simon, I can't help but notice you've got an X-Men T-shirt on as well. Let's have a look-see. Nice, I like that. Oh, that's pigeon chest. Very cool. And Simon, are we classing the T-shirt as clothing, or is that?
Oh yeah.
T-shirts.
Okay. Let's do a poll. In the chat. Is a hat an article of clothing or not?
We had a conversation before we went live. Simon feels that hats are not clothes.
They're just not accessories.
It's
like a handbag, isn't it? Yeah, it's like a handbag.
Well, are socks a piece of clothing?
You don't put
socks are.
Well, then a hat should be too.
Yeah.
Nah.
Socks are accessories for your feet, you don't need them really, do you? You're not naked without socks.
Oh, Simon, you are an interesting chap. Okay, guys, we've got a few people in the chat. We've got Wayne. Nice to see you, Wayne. I hope you're well. And we've got Sean. And I'm sure it's nice to see you as well, Sean. I'm sure we'll get some more people joining as we go on. Tonight, guys, we are going to be talking all things X. We're going to cover... I'm going to put you guys through your paces a little bit. I haven't really told you what we're going to be covering tonight. We're not just talking about the X-Men cartoon. We're talking about X-Men in general. So I'm going to be pushing you for a bit of information on favourite characters, favourite storylines. We're going to touch the movies a little bit, and then we're going to go into the comics and the cartoons as well. So we'll start straight up. Look at that, man. Just look at that sexy Alex Ross artwork, which is obviously a homage to that Jim Lee cover from X-Men 1. Well, sorry, covers. Because was it 5 different issues for issue 1 or something like that, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
4 or 5 interconnecting covers. But guys, what I want to start off with is I want to know what your first comic book introduction to the X-Men was. So when was the first time you read an X-Men comic? Excuse me. And which one was it? And I'll start off with this. This is, Efren, you've probably never seen this before. This is a Marvel UK edition comic book that I bought off the newsstand many years ago. And as with a lot of our UK based comics, it came with a free gift. So you got a plastic spinner gun sellotaped to the front. Makes these really hard to get a hold of because it's hard to get a hold of the comics with the free gifts on them. But this reprinted the first appearance of the X-Men from the American comic book series, and I remember just falling in love with it. And I think for me as well, there's something about that original cover artwork as well. It's striking. That just really, really pulled us in. I don't have a complete version of this at the moment, so I am on the lookout for a copy with the free gift. So yeah, it's a lovely one to have. But I remember reading that first issue of X-Men and just absolutely falling in love with the original team back in the day of the original lineup. James, what about yourself? What's the first X-Men book you can remember?
In terms of the comics, I got onto X-Men quite like I'd seen them. I remember seeing the first movie in the cinemas when I was like 5, and then the cartoons was like a staple for me. But like comics, I would think I was like 11 or 12. Nah, probably 10 or 11, and I was in like a news agent, and it was like I saw on the magazine shelf, and usually like comics here were like this, where it's like a free toy, it's a kid's thing in a poly bag or whatever. But this is like an actual comic, like a comic book comic. And I was like, oh, wow. It was like the only one there on the shelf. But it was the X-Men Origins Wolverine, Origins, with like it's a close-up of his hand with the blade, the bone claws coming out, and the kind of black-looking blood kind of coming down. So that was the first like X-Men comic I picked out. It just looked so cool. I picked it up. And I'm pretty sure the first issue is fairly actionless. It's sort of just like him as a kid kind of thing, isn't it? It's more of a drama. So I didn't like it. So yeah.
That was a really interesting kind of time in X-Men history, because again, I don't know if you realised at the time, but everyone, you'll probably remember back then, there was a massive kind of press thing about that, because it was finally going to tell the origin of Wolverine, because up till now it had been hinted at, and we didn't have anything really. Was it Joe Quesada, I can't pronounce his surname, who kind of came up with right, we're going to finally get the definitive,
I think so, yeah.
The definitive kind of origin of Wolverine and link him into Sabretooth. And you're right, that first issue is pretty dull as ditch water, because it's set it's set in the 1800s, isn't it? It's kind of, yeah. Do you remember that one from when it first came out?
The origin of Logan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I love the artwork on the covers, too.
Oh, the artwork is stunning. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, Adam Cooper. There are some stunning books in that run. I think they did a sequel as well. I think they did Origins 2 or something. I can't remember if I read much of that. Yeah. How about you, Efren? I'm going to imagine you might have picked up some of the early issues off the shelf.
So, like I said, I started collecting comic books back in 1970. I was about 10 years old. And I believe by then they were doing reprints of the original series, because the X-Men weren't that popular. They just weren't popular, back then. So I remember buying the reprints and going to comic book conventions and buying some of the original comic books, like the first prints of them. But I never read them. Usually when I collect those books, I just put them away. But the one that really, obviously, that I remember the most is Giant Size X-Men #1. That's what really started it, the reboots, so to speak. And I've told the story before. I used to go to an LCS by my house. They were 50 cents each, and there was a whole stack of them. And I just grabbed one. That's all I did, Nobody knew back then they were going to be this popular. But, I go, dang it, why didn't I grab like 10 of them, or something like that?
You wouldn't know back then? Yeah.
I was about 15, 14 years old.
Do you still have that original copy, Efren, or did you get rid of that?
That's the one I kept. Yeah, that's the one I graded, and I believe it was signed by Stan Lee, if I remember right. But I kept that one, yeah. As much as I like Daredevil #1, which I have, but that Giant Size X-Men #1, that's mine. That's my personal collection that I bought off the rack.
See, I don't think I've got any comic books from my first collection, other than I've told you guys before, I've got a Superman anti-smoking booklet thing. I've still got that, but in terms of original comic books, I can't remember having many of them. I don't think. It interesting to do a show at some point about the stuff you've let go over the years, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just about to ask, Efren, were you like kind of condition-minded at the time, I want to keep this in good nick?
No. I read it
because I'm pretty sure I tore mine up and stuck it on the walls with Pritt stick. Yeah, it's probably what happened to my copy of the X-Men.
I used to cut out the Marvel value stamps. Comic books, but it was something that I enjoyed doing, and I had no idea about the value of these books, and I just wanted to do it. So.
Yeah, it's one of the common things. I've got some annuals here. I'll just show you, and this is it's nice to have these things in pristine condition and stuff like that, but But then when you go back through, it's also nice to see this has got someone's name in it. They've coloured Prime in. You know, there's puzzles in the back of it and stuff that have been completed. Like these things, you know. So these things were designed not to be sealed in plastic and put away somewhere. You know, the UK comic books, Efren, we got ours with pin-up pages and things like that encourage you to cut them out. You know, or games in them and things like that. So yeah, interesting.
I remember Stephen King once said, you know, the writer, he loves when people come up to him with a beat up book of his. You know, that means it's been read.
Yeah,
you know, so.
Yeah. Instead of just kept. Yeah. How about you, Simon? What's the first X book you remember reading?
So first of all, I didn't actually buy an X book when I was a kid. The first introduction to X-Men was the X-Men series cartoon.
Okay, yeah.
So, but first time I went to a comic book shop and I started with the X-Men was Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
That was a good run. That was my favourite run, and I think that art as well was really nice. So.
Yeah, we're going to touch on that later on because the Age of Apocalypse is one of my favourite runs. Sean still prefer the original team. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about the original lineup. And hold the phone, the main man is here. The real hero has arrived. Fuzzy, you've missed us playing with me helmet, mate. You've missed us. I'll do it again just for you. Look at that. Nice to see you, Fuzzy. I hope you are well, my friend. Okay, guys, so that's the first X book you've read. Now I want to know who your favourite X-related character is. So it hasn't got to be one of the main team. It can be any mutant you want. I think I can probably guess Efren, certainly. But basically, I want to know your favourite mutant and why. And I'll start off. Again, I've talked about this character. I've got two, really. I'll start off with one, I think. I've always been a massive fan of Cannonball, Sam Guthrie, who first appeared in the New Mutants series. His sister, obviously, is Illyana. No, sorry, that's a lie. His sister, is Paige Husk, who was in a series for a good while, could tear her skin off and had different kind of metal and things under her skin. But Cannonball's got the ability to be a cannonball, basically. He's immovable, kind of shoots through the sky with a impenetrable shield around him. So one of my favourite characters. I don't think he's used particularly well at the moment, but there's a great story, two-part story called The Last Avengers story, where he's actually a member of the Avengers, and it's a very cool battle between him and Kang, I think it is, and how Kang dispatches him in the end. So yeah, very cool character. James, come to you.
Well, I'm a basic bitch. So I mean, it's Wolverine. Like, I just love Wolverine. I love the gruffness.
That's safe, isn't it, Wolverine? That's safe.
That's what I mean. I'm a basic. But like, to be honest, and I know this might be a sacrilegious thing to say, I've just never cared for a lot of the extended X-Men characters outside of like your Cannonballs and Banshees and Havocs and stuff. I just don't care about them at all. But I don't know. I just think Logan's just a fascinating character. Like, he's immortal, and that's a whole interesting thing. You know, he can't be killed, but he feels pain. He's like just a little man, a little gruff, ugly guy. Like, that's just a cool thing for your hero to be. And like, I like how violent he gets sometimes. It is such an intrinsically violent thing as his power is. Like, he has knives coming out of his hands.
I mean, that's a really interesting point you've made there, because I think the movies reframed him a little bit in terms of his height. You said he's a little gruff man. He's supposed to be a short horse. He's supposed to be a stubby little thing, really.
It's like 5 foot or something, isn't he?
Yeah. But over the years, they've kind of built him bigger and bigger. I guess.
Handsome. Yeah, that's not Wolverine. It's like he's a little ugly blue-haired guy. It's.
And there's no denying, that he's one of the most popular characters, I think, in Marvel, really. Not just the X-Men. In Marvel, he's 100%. Instantaneously recognisable with an amazing power set. Watched a great little video the other day. People, please go and Google it over on YouTube, where it, I can't remember who the channel was, but basically it talked you through every version of Wolverine's claws that have been around over the years. And it was just incredible, the amount, because there was like 120 different styles of versions of claws, like laser claws,
loops, ends on them somehow.
And it went into like variants of Wolverine as well, So you had fire claws, you had Asgardian claws, all kinds of stuff. But it was really quite interesting to watch.
Asgardian claws.
Yeah. So during during, I can't remember what the series was called. It was a crap series. It was where Thor died again at the end of it. Odin gave them all kind of magical Asgardian enhancements, and he had like an Asgardian metal kind of claws, which were interesting. But yeah, it's well worth a look at. Well worth a look. Good pick, James. Good pick. Efren, I think I know who you're going to say.
You're probably right. I mean, my favorite, I'm just going to go with the original X-Men. I always liked that team more because it was more close knit. There wasn't this such expansion of mutants now that we know of. But I'm going to go with the Beast, Hank McCoy. He's my favorite character. I'm talking about the original one when he was human. I just liked his character, his persona. I mean, he was like a jokester, but also a very smart person. And what they did to him recently, I'm glad they're done with that arc. You know, like evil Hank, you know, or Dark Hank, or Dark Beast, like from Age of Apocalypse, you know. Yeah. But yeah, that's my favorite character. I just really liked. I just liked his powers, you know. So that's a cool character.
I agree, and I love the blue furry version of the Beast. But I think for me that there was something interesting about the character when he was almost a bit of a visible mutation, a visible freak, big hands, big feet.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it.
You know,
makes me uncomfortable. No, I don't like it. I like him big furry man. You know?
Why? I thought it was cool. You know.
No, I don't like him. Like, he's got weird feet. It's strange.
you don't like big feet.
He's just a guy with weird feet. It's just me.
He's scared of hobbits.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Good stuff. Now, Simon, how about yourself?
So, obviously, my opinions changed from when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was Cyclops, purely because that was my first figure, and I used to play Cyclops all the time on the Mega Drive, because there was the X-Men game on the Mega Drive, which I loved, and I don't know why, I just loved it. It was one of my first figures, Cyclops, back then. Now, it's Psylocke.
Oh,
So, yeah.
That's an interesting one. I should have known. Boobies. I know you like boobies. But yeah,
She looks
Psylocke,
like
very
a
interesting.
Fathom cover model, doesn't she?
She does.
So,
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which Psylocke costume are we going for here? Which is your
The
favourite?
purple, bluey one. Like,
Where's your hands there, Simon? This is a clean show, Simon. Filth. Yeah, I mean, Psylocke's a very... I'm asking you which version because I'm with you. I like the cool ninja version of Psylocke.
Yeah.
I'm not just taken on because they gave her Captain Britain kind of powers not so long ago, didn't they? And she became the
I didn't
leader.
like that.
Yeah, she became the leader of the Captain Britain Corps or something. I didn't like that. I liked the original version. Okay, some cool picks there. Wayne is saying his favourite is Nightcrawler. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nightcrawler, and I think they did him absolutely phenomenally well in X-Men 2. I thought Alan Cummings, was that opening scene is still one of the best ever.
Yeah.
I think, so stunning. So great pick, Wayne. I do like Nightcrawler, one of my favourites. And Efren, I know you're a fan because you like his religious kind of connotations with Nightcrawler as well. Very, very cool character. Fuzzy, I don't know if I have a favourite. Magneto, possibly, although Psylocke does special things to me, I'll be honest. You dirty, dirty boy. Magneto, another amazing character. And again, this is the thing I like about some of these characters is the depth of them. Because with Magneto, during the X-Men movies in particular, you absolutely got that emotional push from the Nazi survivor, from the camps and all that kind of stuff. It was just... I thought it was very powerful in terms of the character. So yeah, great choice. Sean saying Mystique again, another dirty, dirty boy. I have to say, what was the actress? Is it Rebecca?
Rebecca Romaine.
Rebecca Romaine.
X-Men 1.
Yeah.
Calm down, everybody.
Yeah. Piss off, Simon, I don't share. Fuzzy's keeping Psylocke. You can't have Psylocke. He's keeping it.
Oh.
Scrap that. Sean is right. Mystique does very special things to me. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to sound like a dirty boy. Is it X-Men 1 or X-Men 2 where she seduces the guy in the bathroom? Yeah. But just got like a crocodile or a snake skin dress on. Very tight dress, and then that transforms into a skin.
Yeah. I'm more of a fan of. I like her, like the white top with the skull thing, like her kind of comic outfit. I love that. I'd like to see that in a movie. Like I'd attempt at that at least.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever actually really seen that, have we?
No. She's always in an X-Men suit or just naked. So
I mean, naked. Yeah. Okay, guys. Okay, so we touched on this a little bit earlier. Next, I want to push you on your favorite X-Men story. Hasn't got to be a run or a series. It can be any book that you remember reading that you really liked. Just any kind of X-Men tale. I'm going to jump in before Simon, and I'm going to go Age of Apocalypse. This run blew my mind. I don't know if you remember this, James, but basically they just cancelled all the X books. This was before big crossovers and things were a big deal. And you just kind of got this lead up, which was really cool as well, which was Legion, Professor X's son, trying to make things better by going back in time and ending Magneto, and he accidentally kills Prof X instead, which sets in motion this Age of Apocalypse, which is what if Magneto basically ran the X-Men. And it went on for about a year, I think, or something like that. And some of the series in this were absolutely amazing. And I'll never forget that final issue where you get your kind of your big confrontation between Magneto and Apocalypse. And Apocalypse, excuse me, is kicking the shit out of Magneto. And he basically says, why aren't you doing anything? And why aren't you kind of putting up a fight? And Magneto says something along the lines of, I'm concentrating. And then he just kind of moves his hands and Apocalypse just splits in half. And he's been ripping him. I remember as a young kid reading that and just being blown away. But also, incredibly ballsy move of Marvel to just scrap everything and start from scratch, you know?
Yeah, that's why I enjoyed it.
Some great kind of reinvention of some of the characters. Okay, so that's my pick. We'll start with Efren this time. Efren, what about yourself?
So, I mean, the first two, X-Men Days of Future Past and X-Men Age of Apocalypse, I mean, those are two great choices. And I would normally pick them in. You give me a couple minutes to think. I'm drawing a blank on the title of these books, but it was when the Morlocks were all massacred and
Mutant Massacre.
What was it called?
The Mutant Massacre.
Okay, that's the one I believe when Angel lost his wings, correct?
Yeah.
That one really sticks in my head too. You know, it was a classic one. I was like, wow. And you know who he became after that, you know. So yeah, that was one of my favorite reads, you know. But the first two on there would have been my normal choices, but I guess I was just trying to go to something else that I remember. You know?
But you know what? I think that's a great point, Efren, because one of the things with the X-Men books is it's never shied away from doing really controversial, hard-hitting stories. And you're right, that the Mutant Massacre storyline where it was the Morlocks in the tunnels and stuff, and Angel was pinned to the wall and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty horrifying, really. It was pretty impressive. Great pick. And of course, the death. Oh, sorry, not the death, but the change in Angel gave what Archangel, and then we got Apocalypse introduced, and great little run. Yeah. Simon, what about yourself?
So I had two in mind. Obviously, there's one biggie, and then one sort of recent because I picked up the whole set of them. Obviously, House of M was a big kick-off for me. Yeah, sorry, James. That's
you just picked James.
The only ones I've read now have been thrown out there, so that's me screwed.
I'll let you have House of M. I'll talk.
No, you go on. You took it.
So the other one is New Mutants. So sort of in an introduction, not obviously the Young Mutants and things like that, but New Mutants, which with all like these sort of new X-Men. So obviously you had my favorite one from there was Surge, and you had like Icarus and Elixir as well, the old guy.
Are you thinking New X-Men? Was it New X-Men?
New X-Men, yeah.
Yeah.
That's that line.
Because they brought in some interesting new characters in that one, didn't it? Was Prodigy, I think, one of them or something, I think, and a lot of them have stuck around for a while. Yeah, another good pick. I'm not sure at this point if you're copying off Fuzzy or Fuzzy's copying off you, because he's gone for House of M as well. I'm going to go with your copying off Fuzzy. So yeah,
I'm not even looking at the comments.
Yeah, James, House of M then.
No, so I was going to go Days of Future Past, and then Efren mentioned that, so I said, okay, I'll pick House of M, and then Simon mentioned that, so I'm going to go back to Days of Future Past. Yeah, just iconic. I love it. Like I've not read that many X-Men stories, but this one I just love how grim it is. You know, I like the concept of this post-apocalyptic future that they kind of they go into. Like even just this cover kind of encapsulates so much of that, just like where half of them are dead, like the X-Men are dead, at this point, and this is the future. Like it's not an alternate reality. This is what's going to happen, unless they do something. So I love that. I love Sentinels. They feature heavily in the So it's iconic. Love it.
Again, another classic one. It's a really good read. If I could recommend something for you to read, guys, and we'll do it in the future. We'll do another show where we talk about some books we've read. Go back and read the relatively recent run called X-Force, and it's the one where Wolverine and Archangel are they're all in black suits and X-23's in it, and they go up against Apocalypse and his sons. That's an incredible little read, incredible run. I think it's about 12 issues. Deadpool's in it as well from memory. There's a horrendous scene where Archangel is dying, so Warren's dying, and they're in the snowbound area or something, and to keep his energy levels up, Deadpool's carving bits of his own body off and feeding them to him. And it's really, really kind of screwed up. But it's an amazing run. I really would recommend just check that out. That's the X-Force run. I wish I could remember who wrote it. Someone in the comments, let us know if you've read that. X-Force, like I say, featuring Wolverine, X-23, Deadpool, Archangel, and the Fight Apocalypse. But it's a great run. We've got a few comments here. Wayne saying he enjoyed X-Men versus Avengers. Yeah, so did I. That's pretty cool. I enjoyed that one as well. Chris, nice to see you, Chris. Uncanny X-Force, that's it. Yep. Rick Remender, yeah, that's right. That's the one. That's the one, Chris. Thank you. Great series, well worth a read. Chris is saying New X-Men by Grant Morrison is his favourite. Perfect balance with Morrison, as sometimes you can go well off on one, but that run is amazing for loads of reasons. Great new enemies and mutants. Yeah, and that gave her a whole host of new characters that are very, very interesting. So yeah, another good run. I would also argue as well, I'm not sure if we're allowed to say his name or if we'll get automatically cancelled, but Josh Whedon's run on X-Men was pretty impressive as well. I enjoyed a lot of his run. There was some good stuff in there. Fuzzy's confirming, Simon, I always knew you were of similar taste. He's very similar in lots of ways, Fuzzy. Very similar in lots of ways. Intelligence. Wow. Just speaking of X-Men, we've obviously got the end of the Age of the Krakoa saga, and we've got a whole host of new X books starting. So we've got a number of new titles. We've got a Storm ongoing, which sounds really cool. Storm is also joining the Avengers, so that's an interesting change. We've got a new X Factor book, a Phoenix book, NYX, X-Force, which I'm particularly interested in, and obviously they're continuing on with Wolverine, or relaunching Wolverine.
Who's Storm dating now? Like, she was dating Black Panther at one point.
I think that ended a while ago. I don't think she's dating anybody at the moment. She's not a character I read a lot of, to be honest. I've kind of given up with.
She's a strong, independent woman, Simon. She doesn't need a man.
Yeah, okay. Psylocke, Simon. Psylocke. She's dating Psylocke. We mentioned Psylocke before. Look at the plight of that costume there next to Cyclops. In fact, look at all of those costumes. Friggin' awful.
Are they down on the boots?
I like Cyclops' costume there.
You like Cyclops' costume?
Yeah, that's cool. The armory kind of look to it. I like it.
Yeah.
What's wrong with it?
Cock off, Keegan. Intelligence, how very tale. Yeah. Some interesting books coming if you're into your recent X-Men tales. I will definitely be picking some of them up just to see how they start off. Okay, let's talk X-Men movies before we get into the cartoons. We've had a whole host of X-Men. We've got the original run, starting with Bryan Singer's X-Men, and then we've got X2, X-Men The Last Stand, Wolverine Origins, and then we'll move on to the First Class kind of era, which again was a bit of a retelling of a reinvention of some of the original tales, but it was very, very cool. We've got the crossover, excuse me, in X-Men Days of Future Past. Then we've got Deadpool, Logan, and the one that's often quite forgotten about, I think, the New Mutants. Some great movies there. So what I'm going to do, guys, I want each of you to tell us what your favourite one of those movies is and what you think the worst of those movies are. And anything else in particular you want to mention about the movies. I'll start off as usual. Big fan of this movie franchise. I remember when X-Men first came out being so excited because back then we didn't have the nerd culture that we've got now, But this movie, the trailer, kind of almost felt like a validation of being a comic nerd. And I remember getting my mum and dad to watch it, and my dad kind of being blown away by the trailer, and it just felt adult. And then going to see it and just absolutely falling in love with it. Out of all of those movies, Deadpool's a big favourite, I have to say. But I think out of all of those movies, I have to say probably the one I enjoy most is X-Men Days of Future Past. I do really like New Mutants. I think that's a cool movie. Probably the worst of them for me is Dark Phoenix. That was just unwatchable almost. I just thought it was absolutely dire. James, come to you first this time.
I like all of these movies. There's not a single one here I say I dislike or would never watch again. It's hard to pick. I think for me, First Class, like the young Magneto stuff particularly, like it was almost like a James Bond kind of, the scene in the bar. Oh, Tarantino-esque almost. He walks into the bar and he's talking to the two Nazis. And there's one of my favorite shots in any movie where he throws the knife at the guy and then pulls it back and stabs the guy in the hand. It was just amazing. So, yeah, I love First Class. And I think the relationship between Magneto and Professor X is fantastic in that. It felt very fresh. I wasn't familiar with a lot of these characters when that movie came out, and I just think it's a fantastic. Matthew Vaughn directs it, fantastic. So that's my favorite. I think objectively the best one is Logan, though. Like that's an Oscar-worthy movie, I think, definitely. And then worst, like it probably is Dark Phoenix, but I remember coming out of the cinema saying I enjoyed. Oh no, X-Men Origins Wolverine's the worst one, I think, and that's that's like offensive to the lore of X-Men, I think, in some elements of it,
Okay.
And it's just like rushed. It's like the CG's awful in some shots of it. Like
It is.
It does some weird stuff, and like I wasn't a big fan of Gambit in it. And just what they did to Deadpool was just horrendous. I think that one's the most offensive.
Boggles the mind, really, what they did with Deadpool in that movie.
So is
It
Mouth
just
Shut,
boggles.
yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Mad. Crazy.
That said, mind, I would say that scene where the lift doors open and Deadpool kind of comes out and cuts the bullets
like
in
that.
two and things. That's
All the
pretty
Wade
cool.
Wilson stuff. The Wade Wilson stuff is great. Yeah, it's just when they
But it's not Deadpool, is it? Do you know what I mean? It's just
Baraka.
weird.
It's Baraka from
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Okay. Efren, how about yourself, bud?
Favorite would be the very first X-Men movie. I mean, just the anticipation, the thrill when it came out. We actually got to see it in the big screen. I mean, to me, the first one, I just really loved it. And so, I mean, that would be my favorite. Are we picking our least favorite too? Or
Yeah, least favorite as well, yeah.
Oh gosh, I've never seen Dark Phoenix one, so I can't pick that one. I think it would have. There are bits of X-Men Origins, and James was talking about it, just what they did to Deadpool. I said, what the heck are they doing to him? They muted, they made him. They closed his mouth up. I was like, yeah, that was a big thing, the way his sarcasm. So I think I would have to pick Wolverine. Parts of it I did like, but just what they did to Deadpool, and I have to say that's my least favorite.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Simon?
My favorites are X-Men First Class and Logan. X-Men First Class, when I saw that scene with Darwin dies, that one was just amazing for me. Like when you just dissolve through the changes and things. Yeah. I just really, I think it was a good kick-off to X-Men again. So, and Logan was just amazing. And yet again, I think the worst one was Dark Phoenix. So.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. Just going to quickly jump to the comments. Fuzzy is saying X2 and Logan by far the best in his opinion. I love Logan. In X2, that scene where Logan, when the X-Mansion's under attack and Logan jumps from the kind of the banister, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Claws through the foot.
Again. I've only seen it in the cinemas once, so I have to watch it again.
It's well worth a watch.
Yeah, I know. I remember at the time saying 10 out of 10, amazing. One of the best movies.
If you get it on Blu-ray, I'm sure you get kind of a noir version where it's in black and white as well, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
What's the woman with the fingers again? What's her?
Lady Deathstrike.
Deathstrike.
Yeah.
Wayne is saying X-Men first one for the time was great. Yeah, it was. For the time, it was absolutely superb. Yeah, some of the special effects don't necessarily stand up now, but it was just so cool seeing the X-Men in action. Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, the worst. Yeah,
I really liked Apocalypse. I actually really liked it. My mate looked at me going, "Are you mad?" And I was like, "I just had a lot of fun with it. I like the kind of the very comic book accurate Project X. What's it called? Wolverine Weapon X program.
Weapon X.
When he's when the thing opens, wasn't expecting Wolverine in it at all.
Yeah.
And when the thing opens and Wolverine's there with the helmet on and everything, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." I think Apocalypse, like some of his power set in that, you like the bit where he has the kind of sand and it's like cutting people's heads off. That was
Yeah, I liked it
There's
too. I mean,
some good
it wasn't
stuff in
my-
that movie. Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite, but I enjoyed it. You know.
Yeah. Good Quicksilver scene as well, where the mansion gets blown up. I think
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
We got to see Archangel in that as well, which I quite like. But I don't think it was a particularly great movie. I personally have to be honest. Apocalypse. Just speaking of Apocalypse, have you seen the stuff in the news lately that they're wanting The Rock to play Apocalypse in the new X-Men universe?
Just piss off.
Don't do
What?
that.
They're not. They're not gonna. Especially after all the shit that's been coming out lately about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's true, he's a big prima donna. That's for sure.
They can't be fucked with that. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris is saying it's such a shame with a cast and a back catalogue of stories that there's no one's favourite film among them. Do any of these realistically go into an all-time top 10? I mean, I have to say, Chris, I think that's a great point, because as much as I love my X-Men, none of these are in my top 10 movies, I have to say. They're good, don't get us wrong, they are good, but there's none that I would kind of say, yes, that's top 10 tier for me.
I think, like, for your average Joe, a Deadpool movie could get quite high
Deadpool
up
can
there.
be-
If you said if you took 20 kind of people in their like mid-20s and said favorite superhero movie, even
I think
a few
Deadpool,
of them
yeah,
would
let's say Deadpool.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people like Logan and say it's kind of an artistic movie. It is very
Yeah.
grungy and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and
Prestige,
rewatch it, to be honest.
yeah, same.
Pardon me. Logan is definitely my favourite for its R-rated. The New Mutants, meh. Oof,
I really
didn't
like New
mind it.
Mutants, and
Yeah,
I think
didn't
it's
mind New Mutants.
unfortunate everyone got a bad deal out of that one. You know,
Yeah. Dark Phoenix was trash.
It's
Now,
fine.
Deadpool 2, the last 20 minutes were rubbish. What happens at the last 20 minutes again? Is that when they go to the school thing?
the
big
SAT
fight, innit?
movie and
Yeah,
Juggernaut.
okay.
Juggernaut versus Colossus. No,
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I
good.
quite liked that. Juggernaut and X3 was a joke.
Yeah.
I'm the Juggernaut.
Vinnie
bitch.
Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not good. Apocalypse wasn't too bad. The first X-Men was one of the first DVDs I ever bought. Same fuzzy. It had like a slipcase and it had like a holographic or a kind of an embossed cover from what I remember. I got that and I got Independence Day with a 3D lenticular cover at the same time. Physical media. Hashtag physical media. Nice to see you, ABZ. Hope you're well, my friend. And we've got Fuzzy, the world's most famous man. That's The Rock he's talking about, James. Okay.
I thought you was talking about Pedro Pascal.
No. Deadpool 3. Not going to go into too much about this. We're all hyper about this, yeah? Excited for it?
Yeah, pumped. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Let's
long
fucking
now.
Go.
Not long now, guys. I'm looking
What's
forward
the actual date? Tickets went on sale today, I think.
Tickets
July
on sale.
28th. Yeah.
Yeah.
May,
Yeah.
June. So it's up to 2.5 months.
Yeah.
It'll fly by.
Chris is saying Vinnie Jones' Juggernaut was the worst movie and casting. Yeah,
I don't think it was
wasn't
bad
good.
casting necessarily.
It was Vinnie Jones.
Costume,
It's
the
just
costume is
crap.
the bad. But he's a big, strong man, though. You know, it's the costume is not good. The helmet's not good.
Okay, let's move on to the cartoons. I just wanted to mention this. The first real X-Men cartoon that we got was this one, which was, I've forgotten the name of it, Pride of the X-Men. If you want to see a little bit more about that, me and James did a little video about this over on my channel where we reviewed this.
X-Men,
This is the day. Have you guys seen this? Have you seen Pride of the X-Men?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's only 22 minutes. Give it
Yeah.
a watch. It's surprisingly good. Like I was quite taken aback. How much I
Well
enjoyed it.
worth a watch. Efren, I think you in particular like it because it focuses a lot on Kitty. I know you're a fan of Kitty Pryde.
I'm surprised she's not on the X-Men series, you know, the new ones. You know, she was such an integral part of the comic books now.
I think she is she not? Is she not one of the...
No, I'm talking about X-Men. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the animated.
Oh, the
series.
cartoon. Sorry, the cartoon. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that at the end, Efren, because I think she's coming. I think
Okay.
she's coming, I have to say. So yeah, check this out. But then we've got a whole host of different X-Men cartoons. Some of these I remember, some I don't. But obviously what led into X-Men 97, which we're going to talk about in a bit. But before we do that, we had the original X-Men series. We had X-Men Evolution, which is a one I think lots of people do remember. I don't recognise that X-Men kind of anime style one at all.
Yeah,
I
so
do.
Marvel had like in the late 2000s kind of a push for anime. So they did a Blade one, they did a Wolverine one, they did an X-Men one.
It's
I
on.
think they
It's
did
on
an Iron Man one as well. It's on Netflix, is it? Or
It's
was
on Netflix. It is quite good. Yeah. So.
I do remember Wolverine and the X-Men, and remember enjoying that. I thought that was a good series. Okay, guys, what do you think of without touching X-Men 97, what are your memories of these cartoons, and which ones did you particularly enjoy? We'll start with you, James.
I grew up on X-Men, the original X-Men animated series. Just loved it. So good. Still holds up, I think. But X-Men Evolution, that was the kind of the cool modern version, where they're all kind of young, a lot younger. And I think, like, for me as a kid, I related to that a lot more. It's like it does feel like a school thing,
Yeah.
So I love that one. I love the kind of twist on a lot of the characters in that as well. Yeah, it was just kind of a high school take on it, which makes sense because they're all students at a school, So I love that one. So the Evolution, I'd put them neck and neck, to be honest. I think for me.
Okay, good. I'm struggling. I mean, it's a long time since I've seen any of these, to be honest, so I struggle to remember much of any of them. How about you, Efren? You've watched the original X-Men cartoon recently, haven't you?
I did, but I still would pick X-Men Evolution. For some reason, I really liked it. Some of the things James was just saying, I agree with. They were just younger. They were in high school. It was a different take. And even the villains were good, too. The Blob was in high school, too, So I just really enjoyed that. I think that one, I think it came out in the 2000s, obviously.
It was right after the movie, so 2002, 2003, that kind of time.
I just liked them. It seemed like a fresh take because they were younger and they were in high school. So I really liked that one. I think it ended like in a cliffhanger, I believe, or something.
I think so, yeah.
Right? Yeah, they didn't really finish it.
I wouldn't be shocked if down the road we get some kind of a multiverse crossover thing.
Yeah.
And they resolve that. I think that's more than likely that, but I think
that would be pretty cool, actually. That would be pretty interesting.
Team of all the animated ones,
Yeah. Good stuff. Simon, how about you?
Original, obviously, X-Men series as a kid, I absolutely loved it, like everything about it. I do remember X-Men Evolution. I enjoyed that because, like you said, it was a school, but it was more introduction with the Brotherhood, where I don't think we had a Brotherhood in the X-Men series, really. Do you know what I mean? They were just, they were all individual episodes. So I like both of them. I have seen that anime one, and it is really good as well. So it's got armor in it.
I was going to say, I've got a feeling I might have watched the first episode of that and thought it was okay.
It is really good. So.
Did you say it was on Netflix, Simon?
It's on Netflix.
The animated one.
It was on Netflix years ago. I don't remember seeing it lately because I checked.
It might be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it could be on Disney.
Yeah, it could be on Disney Plus. I'll check.
Worth checking out. And I might go back and watch Wolverine and the X-Men because from memory, that felt a bit more of a, I don't want to say adult, but a more mature version of the X-Men cartoons.
I've never watched it.
Yeah, I think from memory it was pretty hard hitting. So yeah, I'll probably go back and watch that. Chris is just saying, Saturday morning, all I remember is the Spider-Man theme and the X-Men theme. I think the themes and opening credits left more of a mark on the content. Yeah, that's the same with me, but I can hear it in my head. I adore any 90s X-Men episode with Apocalypse. Really adore those episodes and the future ones. Yeah, Apocalypse. I have to say, if we've been talking about ex-villains, Apocalypse has always been one of my favourites. I don't know why, but I just think there's something so fascinating about him. And Wayne, I think it's on Disney Plus. Thanks, Wayne. Okay, guys, so let's focus on X-Men 97. Obviously, we got this new cartoon not that long ago now, and there was a lot of excitement and build-up ready for this. Straight out the bat, we got this, which was all a bit very strange, and this was that the kind of the showrunner, the main writer behind it, got booted very, very quickly. And it was all a little bit odd.
I think is his name.
Yeah. Efren, you sent us a little clip about this. What did you think about all of this?
I sent you a clip that he's back.
Yeah.
Looks like they brought it back. I just think Disney just goes over the top when they just they're still trying to be politically correct. They did it to James Gunn. They booted him and then they brought him back. I mean, why go through? I don't know if they did it maybe for ratings. It almost seems like, it draws more interest to it. I mean,
Yeah.
the success of the first season, I was thinking they're going to bring him back. They're going to make some excuse or something, because I mean, I think they probably felt the pressure. Goes, oh, wait a minute, we might have made a mistake, so he did some things. Who's perfect in this world? I mean,
Yeah.
as far as I know, I'm not exactly sure what he did, and I apologize for not knowing exactly, but I mean, for God's sake, he didn't, kill somebody or something like that.
He's not back. He's
not?
already done work for season 2, so that's what they're referring to when he's in season 2.
Why,
No, he's not
why
back.
did he get booted though?
So we don't know.
There was rumours, wasn't there? There was rumours about
I
him
mean,
having
considering there was talk of like he had an OnlyFans account. I don't think that has anything to do with it. My guess is that there was some kind of he did something. Like there was somebody was accused of doing something or
You
found out to
sure
have been doing something.
he's not
That would be my guess based on how quickly it happened and how complete the separation was. Like they just wouldn't mention his name anymore. The premiere was supposed to be the next day and he didn't go. He was like signed off of all of their like accounts and stuff. Like he was promoting the show and they just dropped it. So like my assumption is that there's a thing there,
So I think Kevin's right. A lot of the stuff that was going around was that he had an OnlyFans page, and on the OnlyFans page he did, I think, show parts of his anatomy, which wasn't in keeping with what Disney kind of wanted. But let's not forget, and I don't want to cast aspersions on people and stuff like that, but lots of people have done things that they're not proud of. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. went to friggin' jail. Do you know what I mean? He's a drug, so I don't know. I don't know. All I can say about this guy is, having watched the season, he's a talented guy. Chris, I think that was the root of it. I think there was stuff on his OnlyFans page that didn't fit.
That's the rumor, but I just don't buy that because I think that's sort of become a more culturally accepted thing, I guess. And I don't think he's doing. Maybe he had OnlyFans because the people don't have OnlyFans for like non-sexual things, So maybe he had that. I don't know. I feel like that's just a thing that was thrown out there that just kind of escalated. That's not why he was fired. Like,
If he's not back, they should bring him back. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
well,
I have to see.
I'd rather know what he did, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you can't really say that because it might have been something horrendous. You can't really say that until you.
Well,
know
if it was something horrendous, there would be a legal course.
but we don't know that there's not.
Yeah. I think we just need to be careful this day. I'm not going to get all political and stuff like that, but we've talked about people over the last few years a number of times. And cancel culture is really, really quite challenging, I think, at times. I think you're right, James. We need to know the content of it.
Yeah.
But based on his writing, based on what he did with this season, I think he did a fantastic job.
Absolutely, clearly understands. He understood the assignment.
Yeah.
He gets what this is supposed to be and what people wanted this to be, and he delivered on that.
Yeah, just to clarify, like James, I do not culturally accept dick pics. I've sent you a few, Chris. So interesting stuff. We'll see what happens in the long run. Chris has asked if we're going to spoil it. Chris, we will let we know what episode you got up to, because we'll try and keep it a bit vague, but we'll let you know if we're going to spoil it, because there are some big things.
We should have a hard. We're going spoilers.
Yeah, we'll have a hard what? We're still talking about the picks. What will happen?
You have a filthy mind, Peter.
Yeah,
Disney's not hiring you any day anyway. So there you go.
Fuzzy. Just for clarity, who are we cancelling? Is it me or is it James or who's getting cancelled? I'm starting it now. Revolt. Cancel Simon. No, don't cancel Simon. He's too innocent. He'd never survive in jail. Robert Downey Jr. in jail. Chris Hemsworth was in Home and Away on Neighbours, and they're still in the field. Yeah, Home and Away. That's horrendous. And Fuzzy's confirming he does accept dick pics, I believe. Chris, I'm only on episode 4. I'm behind the times. Chris, man, get with the program, mate. Get with the program. Chris, well, okay. So we've had a whole host of episodes. I'm going to start off, guys. What we'll do is I want to know your overall thoughts on the season. I want to know your favourite episode, and I want to know what you think your least favourite episode was. I'll start off. I watched episode 1 of this and I just thought, yeah, it's okay. It didn't blow us away. It didn't excite us necessarily. I thought the scene with Cyclops falling out the airplane was pretty spectacular. I'll give you that. But I don't know. I didn't necessarily get excited. Second episode was pretty cool. That was the Madeline Pryor one, I think. The third and fourth episode didn't necessarily float my boat, but then I think from episode 5 onwards, it really picked up, and the season completely changed for us. Now, I was reading an article by the guy who wrote it, and he said the entire aim of this season was for the first 3 or 4 episodes for you to feel like it was nostalgic, for it to feel like something comfortable and warm, and then he wanted it to completely turn on its arse and be reflective of the real world. So it was designed to be that kind of shock moment. So I thought that was really interesting. In terms of my worst episode, I didn't enjoy particularly the episode where it was the Mojoverse video game and then the Storm and Forge bit with the whatever the hell the big owl creature thing was. That just didn't do it for me at all.
It's weird.
Yeah, it just blew us. Didn't do anything for us. My favourite episode, and Chris fingers in ears, my favourite episode has got to be episode 5, Remember It, which was the Genosha episode for various reasons, which we'll go into when we talk spoilers. But I would say, I think pretty much all of the later episodes were incredibly strong, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, Fuzzy, I know you're in the chat, and I know the season didn't necessarily do much for you. I'd really recommend you give episode 5 a try, and then you can skip episode 6 for me. I don't think that was the best. But then episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10, I really would recommend you watch, because it's good television.
No, you still need to watch. You still need to watch episode 6. Come on, you can't watch all of them except for this one. Come on,
episode
you have to.
6 was.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. Guys, trying not to give spoilers. All right, just give overall. Chris, you can unmute now, and then we'll tell you when to mute. Okay, so Chris can unmute.
Well, I
Fuzzy's
feel
saying,
like it's just hard. You have to. What's he define a spoiler? Like, I'll be vague, but I still have to reference that a thing happened in this one that I really, you know what I mean.
Fuzzy only watched the poorer episodes, so I didn't feel like anything in the first 4 episodes. It just felt like a normal cut. I think that's fair, Fuzzy. I think you need to watch episode 5 and then let me know what you think, and then choose from there if you want to watch the rest of them. I really would recommend the latter half of it. Simon, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Vagueness is fine, guys. Vagueness is fine. Simon, what do you think?
Spoilers, I don't care.
I'm a bit like you, Peter. That first episode, I found I was really looking forward to it. I thought it still had amazing scenes with Cyclops shooting down, but there was one part of that episode where I think they went dancing, and the animation it seemed a bit jerky. It seemed a bit. I don't know what the animators were doing, and I thought, oh, if the rest of the season's going to be like this, I'm not going to enjoy it. So it didn't blow me away that first episode. There was the animation was jerky in times, and there was a bit of corniness. I think too much corniness from Wolverine. So, but then it picked up. Episode 2 was really good, and the animation got better and smoother. And I'm with you. Like that episode 5, it was amazing, and the ending on episode 10 is really amazing as well.
Yeah.
And there's some really good sayings as well. So.
Yeah. So overall, enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Good stuff. Efren, how about you?
I loved X-Men 97. I think it was like a thank you to all the fans who watched the original series, but this was such a mature, it was for more mature audiences. And the minute episode 1 came on, and then they had the original theme music, which I knew it was coming, but I thought it was still awesome. They took that directly from the original series. But the best episode, I'm sorry, was episode 5. I mean, usually when I'm watching regular TV, I'm always like distracted a little bit, like looking at my phone every now and then. But I had put everything down, and when it came to this scene towards the end, there were some fatalities, and I was like, whoa. To me, that just put it up in the upper echelon. Episode 5 was like, wow. And the whole rogue triangle, the way she settled it, I thought it was beautiful. I was like, wow, she really chose her heart, So.
It was very adult, wasn't it? It felt very adult.
Yeah. And then episode 10 too, I was like, dang, they are just not messing around with this series. I was like, damn it, when is it coming back?
Yeah.
Love it.
Definitely left me wanting more. You mentioned the music there, Efren, and I know the theme tune has been done to death.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I really enjoyed the use of it in a number of these episodes where, for me, music's always very powerful. But when I go to see a movie, say I'm seeing Bond or I'm seeing Mission Impossible, the second that theme tune kicks in, I know there's something exciting going to happen. Do you know what I mean? When Ethan Hunt's about to jump off a train and you get the din, 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 or whatever, or the James Bond theme or whatever. They used the theme tune in the same way in this. When there was a big action piece, it started with the X-Men theme. I thought, that's really clever. But I don't know why, it just got us. Episode 10, no spoilers, but there's a big kind of epic scene at the end, isn't there, where things are coming to the head. And they use the X-Men theme again, but it's almost like an orchestral kind of version, almost an operatic, slowed right down. And it was just stunning. I thought it was beautiful. It was very well done.
Did you notice that when episode 1, I think up to 2, when they introduced Jean Grey at the beginning, her hair was down.
Yeah.
And then you know why it was in a ponytail after, right? Well, that's very, and you know, I like that. And then when certain characters left and they took them out of the opening scenes, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But I did like one thing I'm going to say really quick. Roberto da Costa Sunspot. I liked towards the end when he powered up completely. You know, there was no glimpse, like just his hand. You know, like it was a buildup. I like that. You know, so.
Yeah, I like the introduction of Roberto, and that gives us hope because his best friend is obviously Sam. It's Cannonball.
Yeah.
So
Can I just ask, Efren, since you watched the original before this, I can't remember what happened to Morph, and they brought Morph back in '97, didn't they?
So in the original, you know, in episode 1, he was presumed killed.
Yeah.
But he wasn't, and Mr. Sinister took a hold of him. And, you know, it was just torture. He was tortured basically to, you know, do his bidding. And he finally broke free. He came back for an episode, but he just wasn't ready. You know, he was having flashbacks of his death, and he went back to Moira on Muir Island, and he came back. But it's also, we haven't touched on Morph. His face is more, it's not, you know, he was a human face, you know, but that's more, it's like he, she type character, you know. So, yeah. One of my favorite characters. I wish they would use him more in the comic books too.
It's just they sort of like plot him into X-Men '97 from. That's what I felt like they did. So I can't remember him in the last episode from X-Men.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah, he came back in the last episode too of the original series,
did.
and he helped them out. Yeah, so he was part of the team.
I love the way they used Morph's powers, but not just to replicate X-Men. So you had him morphing into loads of different characters.
He's a walking Easter egg, which is awesome. Like, and some of the
Yeah,
characters are just like, oh my god, he's this one, like that.
And when he came back as the Hulk, he hit morph smash.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very good. James, your thoughts then?
I loved it, man. I think this absolutely 100% delivered on exactly what I was hoping it would be. I know, like early on, we had you were not super high on it, and you said this feels like this is for kids, and I feel like it very quickly moves from that. Like it has that maturity in terms of like not just like there's a bit of blood and like Wolverine stabs somebody at one point, for example, you know, but the maturity, the storytelling feels very mature. There's like infidelity and like love triangles and there's a maturity in the topics that it's taking on here as well. It's like it really does feel like, and it's exactly who it should be for the people who watched this original show when they were kids. So that's why I love it. I would agree that I think the Storm storyline, Storm Forge particularly, just I wasn't that crazy about, and it takes up an episode and a half, so like I'll give you that one. I think that's a weak point. Every other storyline, I even like the kind of the Mojo episode. I think X-Men has a deep-rooted history in video games, and I think that's a really cool way of kind of paying homage to that. So yeah, I would say the Storm Forge episode is
the weakest.
Absolutely.
I mean, as a person who knows his Marvel kind of lore, it was the owl thing. I didn't understand it. Do you know what I mean? It was weird.
Wasn't a fan. Not really.
No.
Yeah, so, But remember, it's clearly the high point of, like, I texted you immediately after I finished it. Oh my god, like, this is crazy, you know.
I could have understood if it was the Demon King. Do you know what I mean? Coming back into her or something like that, but not the owl. The owl just didn't make sense at all.
Yeah, it feels like it has stakes. You know, it feels like things are at stake here, and I wasn't expecting quite a lot of where some of the characters were going to go in it as well. You know, and I'm just really excited to get more from it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, guys, thank you for that, James. If you haven't watched it, we are going to do a very, very brief little bit of spoiler territory, and then we're going to move on to some of the cameos that have appeared in it. So if you don't want to know them, please put your fingers in your ears. We'll give you a thumbs up when we're finished. So just quick bit of spoiler. That's your final warning, guys. So we are going to talk spoilers. Gambit? What the shit was that all about then? I wasn't expecting that. And I'm kicking myself because I know X-Men lore. I've read X-Men most of my life. I know the story of Genosha. Do you know what I mean? If that's how you pronounce it. I know that story. The episode started, and I absolutely didn't expect it to end in that way, even though I've read that book. Do you know what I mean? It kind of managed to trick me into thinking everything was going to be pretty good, and then all of a sudden you get the Grant Morrison Sentinel appear, and everybody gets killed.
That's exactly... I was watching, I was like, this is nice. They have this planet now. This is cool. I like this. I like to see where this is going. And then it's just like out of nowhere, all goes to shit and horrific. Like, I think it was a real, you're seeing so many like innocent people, kids even getting just vaporized. Horrendous. Loved it. It's just shocking, you know?
And I'm not a massive Gambit fan, but I have to say, these last few scenes were just heart-wrenching, you know? Absolutely heart-wrenching. Yeah.
I love the effect that has on Rogue as well, and like she kind of goes down a darker path as a result of that. Yeah. That was really great.
Sometimes you think characters like Gambit or Jubilee, their powers aren't that powerful. Yeah. But they showed, I mean, he died a hero's death, and he really amped up his powers, what he did to that Tri-Sentinel. When they show the scene with that piece that's whatever it was on the side of him, you know, that impaled him, I go, wait a minute, are they really killing off this character? Yeah. And I was like, damn. And then the next episode, like I said, the opening sequence, he wasn't there. You know, I was like, I was like, wow, man. I was flabbergasted. I paused it and I rewinded it to make sure, God, what is happening here, man?
And interestingly, Efren, you know, we've finished the season without a return. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's
there's a tease, but I kind of expected we'd get something. Do you know what I mean? It was.
I'm happy we didn't, and I don't want him back because
I'm the same.
Needs to mean something in this. Like that was an important moment. If you
put it this way, I think he's coming back, and I think he's going to be with Apocalypse.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. Absolutely.
They showed that card. You know.
Yeah.
I just don't want to.
Don't want to cheapen it. Don't want to cheapen his stuff.
Exactly.
That's the beat.
Phil's just saying there, I haven't watched 97 yet. Tell me, is the hype real? So much gets overhyped and it puts me off watching it. Phil, I'll be the first to tell you I wasn't impressed with the first 4 episodes. I thought it was all right, but it didn't out for us. Episode 5 is where it hits its stride. I'd say episode 6 falters a little bit. And then the rest of it is just phenomenal.
And like 7, 8, 9 is or 8, 9, 10 is like an arc.
I liked
just incredible.
Yeah,
I liked episodes 1 and 2 because Magneto joined the fold of the X-Men. That was from the comic books too. Yeah. And when he said "to me, my X-Men," I was like, "Whoa, this is pretty cool."
Just from a dramatic point of view, it's just excellent.
Yeah.
So
I think the last few episodes we get, again, spoilers, guys. We get Bastion, which again is a classic X-villain. We get Cable's return. That entire kind of fight with Magneto was brilliant. My only criticism, I guess, was we get at the end of the 9th episode, I think, again, totally unexpected, and I don't know why. I should have known it was coming. But we get that amazing scene from Fatal Attractions comic where Magneto rips the adamantium out of Wolverine. But in the cartoon, we kind of get a freeze frame almost of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I
And it was like,
disappointed
well,
about that. I wanted to see it
yeah.
viscerally like coming out of him.
I kind of
like,
wanted
screaming.
more from that, you know?
Yeah, same. Yeah, 100%.
Maybe they were just thinking of the younger audience.
Yeah.
Showing it coming out of his body.
they
It
had
would
to
have
cut
been
it down.
a large amount coming out. But they just said
Yeah.
it was like a freeze frame, then it just went away. I guess they didn't want to get that graphic, but then they show Gambit being killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
It was odd.
Magneto gets stabbed like straight in the chest, which I loved. I was like, he finally
Goes
did
for
it. He
it.
finally actually stabbed somebody. Like it's great.
Yeah.
And I think that's what else I really enjoyed about the series actually was that it didn't feel like a Wolverine show. There's a a trope, I guess, of Marvel focusing purely on Wolverine. This didn't feel
barely
like
in
that
it.
at all. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the background. He's got a few. He's probably got less than 50.
I like
lines of dialogue
Cyclops in it as well. He did
love
act
Cyclops.
like a leader. So he's,
Simon, do you know what? Because you know me well enough now. I'm a nerd. I like my heroic leaders, my Captain Americas, my Supermans and stuff like that. I've always liked Cyclops, but I think he gets a bit of a short change because he's seen as a Boy Scout, and people aren't that interested in his powers. But when he cuts loose, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And I thought the last episode did him proud when he's jumping around fighting Magneto, and then he does the optic, the full optic blast. I just thought, this is superb.
One other scene I liked at the end, I mentioned her Jubilee. They finally showed her at her full force, what she can do with her powers.
Yeah.
I was like, that's badass. I really like that a lot.
I like it when she just throws Cap's shield away.
That's Rogue,
That was
isn't it?
a rogue, yeah.
Rogue.
Oh, Rogue,
yeah.
sorry, yeah.
On that topic, Spider-Man. We got a Spider-Man cameo in there. We
Well,
got
well,
we did.
we got
hold
a
that,
Spidey
hold
and a
that,
Peter Parker and MJ.
hold that thought, James. Any more spoilers before we move on to cameos? No, I think overall we loved it. Yeah, it was good stuff. Right, thumbs up to the chat. Guys in the chat, we are moving off spoilers, but we are going to talk about cameos. We'll not talk about them in context, but just some of the different characters that show up in the show. So if you don't want to know who they were, all of these people don't really have big scenes. They just have kind of, appear on
a
screen.
lot of it's
for a
no
short bit.
dialogue.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
just a glimpse at them, like.
But we've got some big hitters that I don't know why, again, I wasn't expecting. So here's a few of them. We've got, Doctor Strange, Cloak and Dagger, and Daredevil, which were phenomenal.
Daredevil! It's the Spider-Man Daredevil,
Just
the one
superb,
from the
yeah.
animated series. Just like,
Yeah.
We've got Peter Parker and MJ there. Mr. Fantastic was fantastic. Love that. Black Panther. We get the Iron Man cartoon version. We get Captain America. Good old Psylocke, Alpha Flight. Doom. Doom. I wasn't expecting Doom. Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
All kinds of people. And then we'll get a whole kind of array on Genosha of the different kind of mutants. We got Pixie there and Leech and all those kind of characters. We've got Dazzler in there as well. It just felt like a cohesive universe. These people, like I say, didn't get big scenes, but they were there. They were there in the background and stuff, and I loved it. Was there any in particular?
This global event impacting them. Like that's the important thing. That's what makes it feel like a world.
I think probably the one that had the biggest kind of screen time really was Captain America, because he features in an episode and he has a bit of a toe-to-toe with Rogue, which was very cool.
Cuts to Daredevil a couple of times. He doesn't. I don't think he speaks.
Daredevil was
cuts
in
to
it
him a
quite a
couple of
bit.
times.
Yeah.
You're missing one, Silver Samurai was there.
Silver
as well.
Samurai, yeah, he's in there as well. Do we actually see Spider-Man in costume? I think we do at one point, don't
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
one
it's
point,
a separate scene. Yeah.
we? Yeah.
But just like
Hulk.
this
Sorry, Hulk. We see.
Hulk. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Deadpool. We never got Deadpool, did we?
No, they couldn't use him.
I'm
Apparently,
surprised at that.
Apparently.
Couldn't
Yeah,
use him.
apparently.
No. That's
Yeah,
But the Spider-Man cameo confirms that he found MJ because MJ is missing at
Yeah.
the end. Like what
Yeah.
that show ends on a cliffhanger where she's gone and he never finds her. So she was back at some point. So I please go do that show, please.
Was there any in particular that just made you grin when you saw them? For me, it was Captain America.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
When this show was announced, my immediate first thought is I hope they do this for Spider-Man. And now I love this show. And I'm like, oh, this is how good that can be. So let's have that, please.
Yeah. Efren, was any that jumped out at you?
For some reason, Psylocke and Alpha Flight, seeing them,
Yeah.
I just like that one quick scene of them, so I thought it was pretty cool. But Daredevil, he's my guy too. So.
Yeah, and he got some decent scenes as well,
Yeah.
Daredevil, didn't he?
Yeah.
he got
Those
some
fight
decent
scenes are cool, yeah.
Yeah. Simon, how about you, bud?
Sad to decide. I
I
think
know, that's true.
it was cool seeing what's his name, the red thingy, like with all the power shutting down, coming back to life.
The what?
His name now. Is it not the Red Ribbon Army? I'm thinking it's I forget his name. What's the one with the there on that?
Omega
on that
Red.
image?
Omega Red.
Omega Red. Yeah.
Yeah,
Omega
yeah,
Red.
yeah.
Omega Red. Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. He's a very good, and he was rumored to appear in Deadpool, wasn't he? Deadpool 2 a while ago. But
yeah.
pretty cool. Fuzzy's saying he's going to watch it, but I doubt I'll react the same way James did to Dead. Yeah, Fuzzy, do us a favour, watch episode 5 and then drop us a message and let us know what you think of it.
Watch it right now.
Yeah. No, not right now, Efren. After the show.
Well, I feel like Fuzzy's
After
probably
the
stuck
show.
around for this entire conversation, though, so he already knows what happens in episode 5. So he's probably gonna be like,
No, it's
Well,
still
I know,
worth
but
watching.
still worth watching. Still worth watching. Okay, guys. So the again, spoilers. It ends. The series ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and we get this kind of board of X-Men, and where they've gone and all the rest of it. Simon, the red thingy, beautiful. Yeah. So we get this list of Forge trying to basically assemble a new team of X-Men. There's some interesting ones on there, some classic characters. Who do you want to see? Who do you want to see? If you had to pick, in the interest of time, 2 characters each. We'll start with you, James. Who would you want to be part of the new X-Men team? Hasn't got to be people on that board. Just who do you want to see on the team?
I'd like to see this universe's version of Deadpool. I'd just like to see what they would do with that that character. To be honest, I really like to see Scarlet Witch. Honestly, like, there was a little kind of a shadow, her, silhouette of her at one point in the show with Quicksilver. So I'm like, I'd like to see what they do now that character has been kind of recontextualized. I think House of M would be a really cool storyline to do in this at some point as well. So I feel like she'll probably come down the road. So I'd like to see them.
Okay, very cool. I'm going to go with, I mean, we already had a bit of a, but yeah, Magic. I'd love to see Magic. And Iceman, Bobby Drake. I want to see Bobby Drake in this as well. I love Bobby Drake. Efren, who are you going for, bud?
Let me see. I still want to see Jubilee come back. But I want to. I wish they would have showed a clip of her and Roberto, like what happened to them.
Yeah.
I think they said like 6 months later, just to see where she's at mentally. But that was her family. She's just still a teenager. Another person I like to see, I always liked this character, is Polaris. Have her through X-Men, so those two.
That'd be very cool. I felt sure you would go for Shadowcat. I don't know why.
Yeah, I figured one of you guys would pick Shadowcat, so.
Yeah. And Colossus, I'd like to see as well. Simon, how about you?
Well, first of all, it's interesting that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are off-world.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on there? So, I think having Havoc come back, because obviously, being Cyclops' brother and things, and that sort of arc again, and Emma Frost, I think, because obviously we know she's still alive from a diamond thing, so it's pretty cool. So.
You make a good point about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. I'm trying to think where they are in terms of the comic book continuity. In terms of was there ever a story where they were off world, and I can't picture one.
They have something to do with the evolutionary, because he was part of their past.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Or with the Guardians or something,
Yeah.
What do you want to see happen in season 2 then? Because we're obviously getting season 2. Where do you want it to go? For me, it's Apocalypse. We've got to have Apocalypse somewhere. Big bad for the season, I would have thought.
I think at the beginning they should introduce the New Mutants for at least a couple of episodes, have them come back, but that's the way it was when they thought the original X-Men had died. I mean, giant size X-Men, those characters died. That's when the New Mutants came into being, so maybe they can bring some of them back and start that. And but then that's the thing, if they do bring them, that's bigger, more and more characters.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just want a close-knit family, just certain characters, But there's so many mutants now.
Now, I think that's a great point. I think it would be interesting, Efren, to pretty much, for the first few episodes, forget about this season and just start off with the restarting the school. This is the new class of mutants kind of taking over, That would be an interesting. And then end of the season is picking up where the other guys are. That would be pretty cool.
Maybe start off with the X-Men theme song, but then put a slash through it.
Yeah.
And then, something separates and this is New Mutants or something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be excellent, actually. I like that.
Yeah, right?
James.
I
What do you
think
think,
effort's bang on. I think that's probably what's going to be because I think we'll see some of the other X teams, so like X Factor, X Force, some of them in the absence of like the original team, them being kind of gone for the moment. So I think that'd be really cool. Like obviously Cable, could go form the X Force and stuff. So that feels like the natural kind of where the next season would open anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of the New Mutants. I think it'd be really cool to see.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fuzzy.
Simon, what about you? Is there anything in particular you'd like to see in the next season?
I think it'd be cool. Like, obviously, you've got Magneto and Professor X as friends again and things like that. But what's when they combine together? Something that to happen.
God, what's that character's name?
Oh, Onslaught.
Onslaught.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Rad Art and Comics, no other teams. Just stick with a smaller team. He's thinking. I think Onslaught would be a very cool end villain for the season. That would be pretty interesting. I'd like to see them.
Going into this, we thought Mr. Sinister, and then it threw a curveball at us. So I think maybe the next season will be the same thing with.
Yeah. I'd like to see them do the next season, as we've just described, with what's comfortable and all the rest of it, and then end with Age of Apocalypse kind of dawning, scratch it all, start from scratch, give it totally new versions of the characters, a bit like follow the Age of Apocalypse storyline. I think that would be cool. Onslaught would be very cool as well.
Make it 15 episodes, like I said at the beginning. Have the New Mutants, and then like about episode 3 or 4 segue to the X-Men.
Yeah.
Having your cake and eating it too there, Efren, I think,
It's interesting, isn't it, guys, that how excited we are about this cartoon, and it just shows that, for me...
I feel like you have a bit of a... Like, you look down on cartoons some
No, I don't. No, for me, that's
why
the
you're
point.
so against Scooby-Doo, because you were like, this is a fucking cartoon. Why are you watching this
How dare you?
Film?
How dare you? You know how much I love cartoons, Invincible and all that kind of stuff. What my point is, for me, it's the power of quality storytelling, and that doesn't matter what medium it's in, whether that's a comic, a book, a live action movie or whatever. If you get the quality writing in, it works, And I think that's what this show has really proven, that actually this could be a movie, a series of movies. This could be a comic or whatever. It's the writing that's really had the punch points. I would argue as well, mind I think Simon's right. I think the animation style developed as it went on to some stunning set pieces in terms of the fighting.
For me, when the Marvel universe, when the last Marvel movie, not the last one, but when Iron Man dies, that just was so epic. And this X-Men movie reminded me how those movies could be if you get the right writing. And like I said, if it's an interesting writing, it can be saved, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they got to do it right. It made me have faith in Marvel a little bit more.
Do you know what, Efren? That's a real good point, because if you think about the episodes of this that I'm speaking for myself, but the episodes of this that I've personally enjoyed most are all based on the comic. So Genosha was the comic. Fatal Attraction, the comic. Bastion was the comic. Marvel, as we saw from some of the TV shows, actively encouraged the writers and the directors to not read the source material. Secret Invasion, they told the guys, do not read Secret Invasion, come up with your own thing, and give them some broad strokes. That's where we're going wrong, I think. It needs to be stuck. It needs to stick with the classics. Just going to jump to the chats, guys, because we've got a few comics here. Onslaught and Horseman of Death Gambit. Yeah, I think you're right, Rad. I think that's where we're going. We got that hint at the end, didn't we, with the card. I think that's very much where we'll be ending up. They're going to do the Askin Son arc, which is interesting because it's crikey, a good 10-15 years since I've read all that. For those of you that don't know, this is the family that raised Cable when he was a kid. You see them at the end of the episode. But that's where you get the Nathan Dayspring Askin's son kind of title from. Cable will have to bring the team back together. Yep, I think that's that'll be the end point, I think. Talking dogs aren't real, X-Men are. Absolutely. If it wasn't for those bleeding kids, James, you're getting some grief. How the frig has he squeezed Scooby-Doo into tonight? Relentless, Keegs, relentless.
I will never not mention Scooby-Doo in a show.
I sent just for those Scooby-Doo lovers out there. I sent James the clip of Saturday Night Live this weekend
Oh, it's very funny.
from Scooby-Doo.
I've just recently become obsessed with Sabrina Carpenter because that Espresso song is so catchy, and she shows up as Daphne in it, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, okay,
It's worth a watch.
It's really funny.
It is worth a watch. Okay, chaps, that is the end of our All Things X-Men talk. Been really interesting tonight. Thank you very much, guys. Have you got anything else X-related you want to mention before we call it a night? I know some of you guys brought stuff. Have you got anything you want to show off? Simon, what you got? Oh, hang on. Let us make you big, Simon. Let us make you big. That's me. These are the X-Men 97 figures.
Yeah.
They're nice.
They obviously released these first.
Yeah.
I've got a Rogue as well, which is really cool. And then they've released the new set, I think. So
Yeah.
with
They are nice
Nightcrawler.
figures. I like
Yeah.
them. Very cool. Very cool. Efren?
Hopefully you guys were able to see this comic book. I did take it out of its sleeve, and you can see the shininess on this.
Ooh.
You can
Where
see
did you get
Cyclops.
this from? Where did you get it from, Efren? I've not seen this before. It's lush.
So I bought this on Whatnot. There's this group that I follow. It's called Near Mint Plus, and the owner, the guy who runs it, he went on with Scott Williams, who was the inker for the X-Men books with Jim Lee. He does his own artwork. This isn't a Scott Williams book, but there's other gentlemen who joined him. He has found a way and he has to do it one by one. He basically just overlays Cyclops' laser beaming overlays it with its own material, and you can see Colossus is all shiny. And then back they have Marvel Girl, where you can see her; it's shiny too.
Yeah. So I can't buy this on eBay. This isn't for sale on eBay.
He's still doing this, but I think he just does it, and he sells it like on Whatnot, and you had to bid on it, and it wasn't cheap, so to say the least. And you can even see Storm, the electricity coming out of her fingers.
See, I love
there's
it.
the shininess of it.
I want one. Okay, send us the link, Efren, if you can, mate, because I like it. I like it a lot.
I'll send you his Whatnot link, and he does sales on Facebook too. He goes on Facebook Live. Yeah,
I'll send us the link and I'll have a look.
Sure.
I brought a few bits and bobs. I've got obviously my big shiny purple helmet, which I do like. And Efren, I know you've got these, Efren, but every opportunity to show them off. We've got first appearance of the original X-Men 2.0.
Love it.
Yeah, very, very sexy. Very sexy. I love that book. Love it. And we've got this bad boy as well. Giant size X-Men, first appearance of the new team. 5.5. So yeah, two nice books. Okie dokie, guys. James, you haven't got anything you want to show off, have you?
Nope, just
yourself. Just yourself. Hang on, James. We'll give you your moment. James, give us an X. X-Men.
this is the day.
Very cool. Okie dokie.
We're going to get tattoos with an X on our foreheads.
Yeah. Okie dokie, gang. That's your whack. Thank you so much to everybody for joining tonight. Thank you so much to James, Efren, and Simon. It's always a pleasure spending time with you guys. I love yous loads. It's always good fun to have a bit of a chat. And thank you so much to everybody that's been in the comments tonight. 14 people watching. Really do appreciate you spending the night with us. Okay. That's been our All Things X-Men. If there's anything else that you're interested in we're talking about, any other comic book series, cartoons, movies, anything like that, drop us a line on Instagram or in the comments on this video and we'll do a bit of a focus. We used to do a series called Spotlight on, but I quite like this format better, I think. I think this works better. So if there's anything in particular you want to see we talk about, please do let us know. And with that, we'll call it a night. Thanks very much, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Bye!